Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all are doing well right now on this quite lovely day. My apologies for the lack of uploads. I've just got back from my summer vacation, and now we are officially back full force with bringing y'all brand new content. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have missed a lot since I was gone. It seems like every time I take a break from content creation, all hell always seems to break loose the moment I step away, even for a little bit. Like this past summer alone has got to be, quite literally, the most chaotic summer that I have ever seen in my lifetime in terms of cultural and political events going on in the world. Joe Biden dropped out. Kamala Harris is taking over. I got a few words about it. JD Vance and Tim Walz. There are two different videos about each individual, and we will go more in depth and talk a little bit about each running mate as well. Trump's attempted assassination, still getting some new details every day about that. Mr. Beast's downfall, I know I've been getting a lot of requests to cover what's going on about him. So yeah guys, I've seen it all and I am fully aware. I just wasn't able to cover every single one of these topics, especially during my summer break. But now, I have returned, which is the most important, so stay tuned for all these topics, coming up relatively soon. So subscribe to the channel. It literally only takes a yoctosecond to do so. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so that way you can get the video right on time as it drops. Because again, I'm your news guy. I'm here to keep you guys posted with everything that I got now that I'm back from summer break. This is why you should subscribe. Now obviously, I'm not the only guy who has officially returned. Somebody special also made a comeback as well. DJT himself, Donald Trump, has officially made his long-awaited, hyped-up return on Twitter/X, depending on what you call it. I still call it Twitter, although I like to flip-flop between Twitter and X every now and again. After being banned off the platform in the wake of January 6, and then years later, being reinstated on Twitter by Elon Musk after his acquisition of the website, and between the day he was officially reinstated on the platform and today, Trump has not said or tweeted anything on Twitter, despite his ban being completely lifted, and rightfully so, since Twitter's main purpose was meant to be the public town square. I will get into that later when we talk about the space that he was in. But even before last night, Trump really hasn't posted anything on his Twitter. Back when he was still on the platform, everything that Trump tweets out always ends up becoming a new meme. Like it ends up turning into some sort of copy pasta and whatnot. And that was literally one of the more entertaining parts of the Trump saga. Right when he first started to become candidate Trump, and even throughout the majority of his first term as president. This is actually where the term mean tweets comes from. But Trump's Twitter saga is one of the more entertaining aspects of the Trump saga, at least in my personal opinion. And his replies are also split 50-50, half the comments are a bunch of liberals attacking him and calling him out as per usual, and the other half are his supporters praising him and agreeing with whatever the fuck he's saying. So now that Elon Musk controls Twitter, Trump finally posted on his Twitter after I don't know how many years, I think since the ban was lifted, but the day Trump finally posted on his Twitter, which was just one of his campaign videos, Elon Musk confirmed that he was going to be doing a Twitter space with him, and that it would be around 8 p.m. Eastern time. So Trump and Musk agreed to do this conversation and being able to broadcast it through the entire country and being able to talk to the American people. This is a good campaign strategy, and I think Kamala Harris, now that she's the nominee for the Democratic Party, she should do the same as well. So this whole Twitter Spaces that just happened last night was merely just an interview, a debate, and more importantly, a conversation. Now I know some of you guys who wanted to tune in initially had a few issues. Obviously, the whole space interview thingy went off to a very rocky start. Initially they had to delay the interview because so many people were trying to get in that the entire servers just malfunctioned. So many people were trying to go on and listen to what was being talked about that somehow the space servers just completely shit the bed, crapped itself, and just lost it and went nuts. So a lot of people were actually struggling to get in and trying to listen to the Twitter space, or X space, which is what some people prefer to call it. But people were really struggling trying to get in because the servers got so overwhelmed, or at least what I thought initially. I myself had struggles trying to get into the Twitter space. Like, this whole situation was an absolute nightmare. It wouldn't work on my desktop, which is what I initially wanted to do. Like, it wasn't working on my laptop, so I had to switch over to my phone just to listen to it. Briefly, it did work on my phone, and then I started getting this space unavailable or space not found error message that I keep getting nonstop. And I was literally talking to people like, I can't get in. And apparently I was not the only one who was having this issue. A lot of people couldn't get in for the first 30 minutes or first hour of the Twitter space. Initially, I thought that this was just the overwhelming of the servers because so many people want to tune in and see this. So many people want to see the return of Trump. Regardless of where you stand politically, people want to tune in. Now, initially, that's what most people thought. You know, so many people are joining in on this space and the servers ended up getting overwhelmed because it couldn't handle that kind of traffic. However, according to Elon, it turns out that the servers weren't actually overwhelmed at all, as they were, they test spaces on a daily basis with like 10 million people. By the way, over 1.3 million concurrent viewers showed up at its peak, just so we are aware. So according to Elon Musk, the servers were not overwhelmed. And the reason why there was so much difficulty of people joining in and listening to this space was because they were DDoSed, apparently. That the servers were hacked, and this was apparently an intentional DDoS attack to, disrupt what was going on and to prevent this from happening. Initially, I thought they were gonna, postpone it another day, but they still managed to get it done today. It took them around 30 to 45 minutes to fix everything, but the good thing is they were able to get it done. It was delayed only for about, an hour, but the most important thing is they were able to fix the problems, fix the issues that were going on, and people were able to join in and listen to the conversation that Elon Musk and Donald Trump had. Now, this conversation lasted only for a couple hours. If you exclude, the fiasco that took place, it was only a 2-hour-long conversation, and I was there for the whole thing, listening to the entire conversation. And I gotta say, it was pretty interesting. I don't know what it is, but every time I see a Twitter space like this, especially when Elon is there, it always seems to be very fascinating, and there's a lot of interesting topics and things that are talked about almost habitually all the time. And this one-on-one with Trump and Elon was no different. It's amazing to me personally because it was almost like you were listening to a podcast. Man, I love me some podcasts. I always put them on in the car pretty much all the time when I'm driving. That's all I listen to are podcasts. And this kind of was almost like a de facto podcast. And I think Trump needs to start doing these more now that he's back on Twitter. So listening to this Twitter space with Elon Musk and Donald Trump, the first thing Musk mentions right when they first started talking was the assassination attempt. Now, obviously, that is a separate video. A lot has went wrong. It was a complete and total fuck up by the security in the first place. I will not have time to go too in depth about it. However, it will be in a separate video, but they were talking about the assassination attempt as one of the first topics of this space. Elon did mention, while bringing up the attempt, saying that he doesn't want this story to be completely shadowed and swept under the rug for all of eternity. This is an important historic moment. He also did mention, and I will mention this in my video about the assassination attempt. He asked the same question, and I'm asking the same question, and that is, how the fuck was he able to get up there when he was completely fully exposed and everybody can see him? But the USSS did absolutely nothing to stop it. That's almost 400 feet of an easy shot that he could have made. Trump also mentioned as soon as the people saw the dude, on the roof, when they heard the shots and they saw that Trump got hit, nobody panicked. Nobody was running, and everybody stayed with him throughout this time. And he got up, he made that famous iconic photo, and then everyone was screaming and chanting, USA, USA. And everyone was still staying on him, and he's just trying to get up even though some of the guards were still trying to keep him down. Elon mentioned that is actually a sign of huge bravery, and there's no way you can fake that. Trump didn't even think of it. He just wanted to get up and, finish his speech. and to basically show everyone that he is fine and he is doing okay and he didn't take that big of a hit. Like, there was even a lot of blood like pouring from his ear, and Trump did mention that the doctor told him that the ear does in fact bleed a lot. The fact that he was still able to do this without even feeling an inch of pain is actually really fucking brave and admirable. Like, to me, when I was watching this rally, it looked fucking scary. Like, there was a lot of blood. I was, like, crying, man. And if something happened to me like this and I saw that live, I would be panicking too. And the crowd that was there, they showed resilience too, and I respect that as well. Trump even said it himself, it wasn't really that bad of a hit. It's just that the ear itself, and primarily the whole facial area, just so happens to bleed a lot. And this could have been a lot worse. Like, this whole situation could have been a lot goddamn worse. And it's just an absolute miracle that he was able to still be here to this day. Even though they were late and they should have done something earlier, at least they were able to take care of the situation once the first few shots were done. And Trump even mentioned that this was, in fact, a huge miracle, that he is even still around. Again, this could have been a lot worse, but thankfully it's not. And he did mention to Elon in this space that it actually strengthened his spiritual beliefs even more so than ever. And I feel the same happened to the people who were attending it, felt the same way as well. Now, before we move on to the next topic, he did mention that he will be doing another rally in the same area where he did that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. So he will be back there, same spot, same city, Butler, Pennsylvania, and he's not going to start the rally normally. Instead, he's going to go back on stage and he's going to say, anyway, like I was saying, and then he's going to continue doing the rally and pick up where he left off, which I think is pretty hilarious and badass. We then talk about immigration in the space, which I think is pretty straightforward and needs no explanation. We already know Trump's stance on immigration, and it's kind of similar to my stance of immigration. The United States obviously was built by immigration. That's the reason why we have the Statue of Liberty off the coast of New York. So immigration is not a bad thing. In fact, at times it can be a good thing. However, since like the first mega wave of immigration that the United States got, 99.9% of all immigrants in that huge immigration wave that the United States got from Ellis Island and the erection of the Statue of Liberty to Angel Island on the West Coast, 99.9% of those immigrants came to the country legally. They went through Ellis Island, they went through the process, they wanted to seek a new life and a better life. That's why they're here. That's how it has always been done, and that's how it should always be done. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. What I do have a problem with is illegal immigration. That is skipping the process entirely and crossing the border and just living here without even forms of background checks and whatnot. No, just get in and do what the fuck you want. Having an open border is like having a computer without antivirus and just, downloading random shit willy-nilly thinking that nothing bad is gonna happen. When you buy a computer, you need to install antivirus software. You don't know what the fuck you're downloading when you get something off the internet. You need to have actual protections when you have a computer to make sure you're not installing any malware or trojans or any sort of file or program that can potentially compromise the machine. So that's essentially the good analogy of my own viewpoints on immigration. It doesn't necessarily mean you can't download anything. You need to make sure what you are downloading, make sure that it is safe, and don't get too much of anything and potentially break your machine. In the case of the United States, our antivirus software is disabled, and it's completely fucked up too. You have actual legal immigrants who want to be in this country, who want to live here, but they get denied multiple times, year after year after year, being nothing but a complete shit show of a system. Moist Critical's esports team, by the way, had to go through this clunky little process. They were even denied entering into the country at one point. Meanwhile, you look down south, it's free for all. Someone who came into the country legally gets denied green cards multiple times. Meanwhile, southern border, anybody can cross. No repercussions whatsoever. I have no goddamn fucking clue how we can function like this. They mentioned in the space that there's about 30 million people that are flooding in. And a chunk of these people do not come from Latin America. And the whole idea that immigrants are essentially Mexican and Latin American is pretty much nothing but a complete bigoted statement. It's bigoted, and I hate it when people say, "Oh, you're Latin American, you must be an illegal immigrant. Oh, you're from Latin America, then Trump hates you, he wants to deport you." Oh yeah, so you're basically calling every Latin American Mexican, and you're essentially calling every Latin American an illegal immigrant. How dumb and ignorant do you have to be? Gringos, pendejos. That's what you guys are. But you take a look at what's going on in the southern border, a lot of these people don't come from Latin America. They're from all over the place. Asia, Africa, the Caribbean, the Middle East. Some of these people have criminal records. A lot of these people are not necessarily clean when it comes to their background. You know, they got a really bad criminal history. They could be gang members, drug trafficking, sex trafficking. And to make matters worse, a lot of these people who fled these countries because of the crime that is there, or they might be under attack by those gang members. The people who came to this country legitimately and legally, who wanted to flee their country for those reasons. If you let the same gang members and criminals that these people are fleeing from in, those same people that came here for the sole purpose to escape the crime, gangs, and cartels in their country are not going to feel safe anymore. That's one of the reasons why some of these people came here. It's because they're safer here. They're not going to feel safe anymore if you just allow an open border. That right there is an insult to them. This doesn't just hurt actual Americans. This hurts actual legal immigrants too. And I can concur. I have seen so many videos of footage in the southern border. It's a nightmare. From some accounts, I'm hearing it's well over 20 million. When Elon was there, he estimated that there were about 50 to 60 million tops. That's almost nearing the population of Italy. That's a lot of people. Way too many. It's just like having a computer. You gotta know what you're downloading, and you gotta have protection for it. Otherwise, to quote Sans, you're gonna have a bad time. Like Musk explains that the reason why we have inflation, the reason why inflation exists, is because a lot of it has to do with how the government spends. The inflation and the national debt is usually caused by government overspending. But in actuality, if you know economics, inflation actually comes from increasing the money supply, which again is caused by overspending by the government, because the government is just creating money and just spending it. And again, this is a very basic economic concept. If you print more money, it's not going to make you richer. It's going to decrease the value, hence creating more inflation and therefore increasing the national debt even more. And take a look at countries like Zimbabwe or Venezuela. They used to be some of the richest countries out there. Venezuela even has an oil reserve. That's what the country was known for. They could have been the Middle East of the West, and Caracas could have been like Dubai. But they ended up getting a piss-poor government, which in turn became a dictatorship, where they printed a lot of money, they overspent on literally everything, and ergo, the country is now economically fucked. So even if you are a rich and powerful country, you gotta be careful with what you do, and be extremely cautious with what government you get. So they discuss about the economy and what Trump was planning on doing, trying to get the United States back on the right track, and hopefully, sooner rather than later, we can go back to the economy that we had late 2019, early 2020, where everything was at its peak. Me personally, I want to go back to that. And then in terms of the wars that are going on, none of this was a problem under Trump. Yeah, Israel and Palestine were doing its thing and fighting each other, but Trump legitimately actually kept that region in check. He kept all these Middle Eastern countries in check. And to all the Free Palestine crowd, he even kept Israel in check. Genocide and displacement is awful, and he ain't playing around with that shit. He kept everybody in check. And if you look at the Abraham Accords, that was one of the closest and the biggest step forward that we got to achieving peace in the Middle East. That's major. And then we take a look at what's going on right now. It's disgusting. He even kept Russia in check. There was this funny moment in the space where he said, you know, I was talking to Putin and I told him, don't invade. Putin then said to me, no way. And then I said, way. That was definitely one of the highlights. So yeah, on foreign policy, we weren't getting any of that. Building our way towards peace and finding these solutions are the best way to stop any of this carnage from continuing. And building relationships with these dictators is not a bad thing, and it doesn't make you a dictator. In fact, you're supposed to. There's this old cliche saying that you may hear every now and again, keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. Trump was the first president to cross the DMZ on the North and South Korean border. No president has ever done that before. He has talked to Putin. He has talked to Kim Jong-un. He has talked to Xi Jinping. He has talked to Bashar al-Assad. the president of Iran, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. He knows how to talk to these people. Yes, these people hate us. These people are considered dictators to an extent. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're not allowed to talk to them. And just simply hanging out and talking to them does not make you a dictator. Again, how are we going to make progress if we don't at least engage with these people? Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. So we've discussed the assassination attempt, we have discussed the border, we've discussed the economy, we have discussed foreign policy. He's already discussed environmentalism, he has discussed education, mentioned something about getting rid of the Department of Education. And after seeing what we did with the whole metal detector fiasco, which there will be a separate video on, I can see why he's attempting to do that. Education here sucks. Now, I can make a 1 to 2 hour video about everything that was said in the Twitter space. There was just a lot of stuff that was discussed in the space. They didn't just talk about, immigration and the assassination attempt. They went through everything. Environmentalism, they talked about the war in Ukraine, the war in Israel and Gaza. They briefly talked about the economy. There was just so much being discussed in these 2 hours that I won't be able to go through each and every single one of them, because a lot of them have just so much explaining, and that's essentially what I do here. I explain a lot. That's why some of these videos are just so overwhelmingly long lately, because I'm always explaining and analyzing what I am seeing and what I am hearing when stories like this break in these types of conversations that are being made by these major political figures and personalities. But yeah, that was the Twitter space from Trump and Elon Musk. There is so much to take away from it, so much that is being discussed. I like how Trump was able to spread his message and show everybody what his views are on these certain things, even getting both sides to listen to the conversation, and most importantly, to have a civil discussion. I love the fact that we're having these Twitter spaces, and I hope we see these weekly, especially seeing the way Trump articulates. Like, I already know what Trump's policies are, even by listening to the space. I know his views on immigration, I know his views on the economy, I know his foreign policy. You have somebody who is neutral, who is open-minded, Elon Musk, listening to exactly what Trump stands on a certain issue, and either agreeing or disagreeing with his stance. This is exactly how we should be doing democracy, and it is such a great campaign strategy for Trump. Not only you're having these conversations, not only you're spreading your message out, telling everybody your views on certain things and about your whole story and whatnot, but you notice, because it's on the internet, people are engaging. The only way voters actually engage with presidential candidates is usually during town hall debates, which is basically how it's been done since this country's first ever election. Before the internet, way before the internet, like go back to the late 1790s and early 1800s, that is usually how debates and how election campaigns operated. Presidential candidates would always debate like a few times weeks before the election, one of them being the town hall debate, where the people, the American voters, go out and ask their questions to the presidential candidates. This has been the standard even before multimedia, like radio, television, and the internet. Nowadays, radio, TV, internet, all that broadcasts these debates, but there's only one town hall debate, and it's only in one specific location that not everybody can go to. It's usually in a local area, and most of the time it's just local people, and a small percentage of which are people who traveled just to see it. Twitter Spaces, or X Spaces, is the best campaign strategy for both presidential candidates. And I hope Kamala Harris does exactly the same thing. In fact, Elon, I think, invited to do a one-on-one space with her. Supposedly she declined. Hell, knowing her, it doesn't even have to be Elon. It can be David Hogg. It can be one of the Krastenstein brothers. I want to see both presidential candidates do X Spaces, do Twitter Spaces, at least once every 1 or 2 weeks, leading up to the debates and election day, even when they're on the campaign trail. It is the best way to talk and engage with your voters. It is the best way to get your message across. It is the best way to share your views and your stance on a certain issue. It is quite literally just the best way to talk to the American people. especially in this modern age. There is not a better campaign strategy that I can think of than doing Twitter Spaces. Millions of people were able to tune into Trump Space. It works. It actually works. People are interested. Instead of, blatantly and falsely attacking Elon and Trump for hosting a Twitter Space, do one yourself. Make a Twitter Space. It's just you, Trump or Kamala Harris, the candidate, and then one other person. It doesn't have to be Elon. It can be anybody else, preferably somebody who's neutral, and just have a conversation, like a debate or an interview. Just have a conversation. It's like listening to a podcast. I seriously enjoyed listening to that Twitter Space, and I am actually hoping that we get a lot more of these in the future. But anyway, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button down below, and if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the little notification bell. Be sure to follow me on all my social medias, links are in the description below. Share this video around with your friends, families, boyfriends, girlfriends, enemies, whomever. Definitely helps me out a lot, helps the video grow, and helps grow the channel if you were to share this video with whomever you know. Don't forget to leave all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below, as I always end the conversation down to you. What do you guys think about this space? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are there things that you agree or disagree with? Do you find it interesting? Do you want to see more of these spaces in the future? Do you think both of these candidates should start doing these more often during the election year? Again, I'd like to hear all your thoughts and opinions on the comment section down below. It's awesome to start a conversation. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, ring notifications, and until then, take care, talk soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. You're awesome.